So every single one of these builds is designed to just do some absolutely absurd damage, and they are actually pretty overpowered. So let's go ahead and jump into this top 5. So for this build, we're using an oldie but a goodie, the Heavy Giant's Crusher with the Royal Knight's Resolve. I know this was all the rage pre-DLC, and after the DLC has dropped, it's just become that much better. With new talismans and new tiers, you're going to be able to spike your damage even farther than we were before. As you can see from this Radagon fight, and pretty soon the Elden Beast fight, the game is actually a complete joke with any boss that you come across. The physical damage of this weapon with Royal Knight's Resolve and Howl of Shabriri is just going to chew through boss health bars with incredible ease. You will actually one-shot the majority of bosses in Limgrave if you take this into New Game Plus, because you are putting so much damage into the health bar. This is definitely a great build if you want to feel incredibly powerful and broken walking through Elden Ring. So for this build, we are just using the good old-fashioned Heavy Giant Crusher with Royal Knight's Resolve. We are stacking as much damage into this build as possible, and going to be using the Rakshasa armor set for all of the armor for that extra 8% damage. We're also using the two-headed turtle talisman because we are going to be going through stamina like crazy with this build, the axe talisman for the heavy charged R2s, the two-handed sword talisman for just that free 15% damage, and the Great Jar's Arsenal just so we can equip everything we're wearing now. For our flask, we're using the blood-sucking crack tier and the spike crack tier, which is going to stack with the axe talisman. And when it comes to all of your stats and buffs, we're using Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri to buff that damage up even more. We're using 60 vigor, 14 mind, 30 endurance, 80 strength, 15 dexterity, 9 intelligence, 33 faith, and 8 arcane with a level 170 build on New Game Plus 5. Alright, so for this build, you're going to be using the Heavy Iron Ball with Endure on it, just so you can tank a ton of those hits. You're also going to be using the Rakshasa armor set for the 8% damage. I'm using the Bullgoat Talisman for that extra poise, which is going to give me a total of 77 to be extra tanky. I'm also going to be using the two-headed Turtle Talisman for that extra stamina recovery speed, the Crimson Amber Medallion, as we are going to need more health, as we are going to be tanking hits, and the Axe Talisman for those heavy charged R2s, which come out incredibly fast with the Iron Ball. Now for our flask, we're using the Spike Crack tier for those heavy charged R2s, as well as the blood-sucking crack tier for more damage. And when it comes to our stats and buffs, we are using Golden Vow. You can use Flame Grant Me Strength. I was using the Blood Boil Aromatic, which is going to give you plus 30% increased damage and plus 20% stamina recovery speed, but you are going to take a ton more damage, so you can use Flame Grant Me Strength if you don't want to do that, and also Golden Vow. Now, I'm also using these same stats you've seen previously with a level 170 build, 60 vigor, 14 mind, 30 endurance, 80 strength, 15 dexterity, 9 intelligence, 33 faith, and 8 arcane. So the Ordovis' greatsword has always been a favorite of mine, especially when you're looking for a really awesome matchup of strength and faith. This weapon is definitely a nice marriage between the two. You have an awesome scaling with an A in strength and a C in faith, and the Ordovis' Vortex, which we are going to be concentrating on in this build, is going to provide you with a lot, and I mean a lot, of physical damage as well as stagger damage. You have the ability to pretty much stagger bosses into oblivion, making them fall over, completely canceling out their moves, and getting a ton of criticals by breaking stances. Now everything you're seeing here is recorded on New Game Plus 6, and I am level 170, but the damage cannot be denied. This build is going to make this game very easy for you, especially if you're looking for a high stagger build. Now for this build, we have the Ordovis' greatsword. We're also using the entire Rakshasa armor set for that extra 8% damage. We're using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman to reduce our incoming damage by 20%, the Sacred Scorpion Charm to increase our holy damage by 12%, the Shard of Alexander, and the Godfrey Icon, both of which are going to give a 15% increase to our damage for the charged Ordovis' Vortex. For our Flask of Wonders Physic, we're using the Holy Shroud and Crack tier as well as the Blood Sucking Crack tier to get a ton more damage. And when it comes to our stats and buffs, we're using using Golden Vow and Howl of Shrubbery for more physical damage and damage overall, and we're using 60 Vigor, 14 Mind, 30 Endurance, 80 Strength, 15 Dexterity, 9 Intelligence, 33 Faith, and 8 Arcane. Now, out of every single incantation that we got from the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, Knight's Lightning Spear may be the most broken incantation that we have received. The amount of damage that you can pour out with this incantation is absurd, and it is chargeable, so we're definitely going to be taking advantage of that. As you can see from this Commander O'Neill fight, it's just comical how fast we can take him down and how little damage we can actually take. This incantation is going to provide a little bit of stance damage, so if you hit an enemy enough, you are going to be able to break their stance, getting some criticals off if you want to, but this build is designed to stay at range and just snipe enemies from afar. As you can see, everything we come up across, even in New Game +6, doesn't stand a chance at all. Everything in the build is designed to boost your damage in one way or another, so I was really excited to play through with this build. Now for this build, we're going to be using 2 Gravelstone Seals. I'm casting with my +24 one, but the other one doesn't have to be leveled up at all. You still get the 15% boost from it, so this will give us a 30% boost to our Dragon Cult incantations, making our Knight's Lightning Spear hit incredibly hard. We're also going to be using the Black Dumpling Helm and the Rakshasa Armor set. Black Dumpling is going to proc anytime Madness is in the vicinity, giving us 10%, and then this is going to give us 6% more damage. Now we are using the Ritual Sword Talisman for more damage at range, the Godfrey Icon to charge our Knight's Lightning Spear, the Lightning Scorpion Charm. If you don't want to take more damage, you can use another incantation talisman here, and the Phlox Canvas Talisman for more damage to our incantations. Now for our Flask of Wondrous Physic, we're using the Lightning Shrouding Cracked here for 20% more lightning damage, and the Blood Sucking Cracked here for another 20% more damage on top of that. Now when it comes to our stats, we are level 170 on New Game +6, 60 Vigor, 27 Mind, 25 Endurance, 20 Strength, 20 Dexterity, 9 Intelligence, 80 Faith, and 8 Arcane. So for our last build of this top 5 overpowered builds, we are going to be using the Nagakiba with Unsheathe, but this Dexterity build is going to have a little bit of spice, and we're going to be stacking a few buffs to make sure that that Unsheath hits like an absolute truck. We are going to be utilizing things like Seppuku, as well as the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Age 1's Exaltation, and anything else we can add in order to get this build to just trash everybody. This is a really fun way to play. It's a calculated way to play, so you need to choose your windows of opportunity in which you're using your Unsheath very, very carefully. But once you get that charge up from the Rolana's cameo, you are going to not be disappointed with the damage output that this build can attain. I absolutely love Dexterity builds. They're so fun to play. They definitely give those samurai vibes, and this build is going to be a ton of fun if you just want to sit there and get max damage while at the same time just walking through Elden Ring having little to no problem. So for this build, you're using the Keen Nagakiba with Unsheath. I also have a Blood Uchi-Katana for Seppuku. I'm using the White Mask for that Seppuku as well. Then the Rakshasa Armor for that extra 6% damage. We're using the Shard of Alexander, the Age 1's Exaltation, the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and the Rolana's Cameo for when we use Unsheath and get that massive damage boost with this talisman. For our Flask, we're using the Blood Sucking Cracked here as well as the Stone Barb Cracked here. And when it comes to our stats and buff, this is a level 150 build on New Game +6. Vigor is 55, Mind is 13, Endurance is 23, Strength is 18, just so we can wield the Nagakiba. Dexterity is 70, Intelligence is 9, Faith is at 33 for Howl of Shrubbery as well as Golden Vow, and Arcane is at 8. And guys, that's going to be it for this overpowered top 5 video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave down in the comments anything you guys want to see next. We also have a Patreon, which I'm going to be linking down in the description below. Typically, my videos hit there first, so definitely join up there. It is all free. You can pay if you want to, but it is not necessary. So before you leave, I just want to ask you to hit that sub button and the bell notification so you can know when new content is coming out. And until next time, guys, stay safe, enjoy the game, and I'll see you in the next one.